All right. Like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Okay, so this video is going to be solely about my orientation at Prime. If you just watched that last video, you see I started out with the orientation, completely lost train of thought, and did a completely different video. So rather than scrapping that whole video, I just let it ride. Hopefully that don't piss too many people off. Okay, so I got to Salt Lake City. I did my orientation in Salt Lake solely for the fact that my recruiter advised of it. She said, you're out of California. Yes, you're moving to Missouri, but you can still do it in Salt Lake, which would be a lot quicker, a lot easier, a lot less stressful than doing it in Missouri. Reason being is in California or in Salt Lake, you had to have your permit already. Back then, you didn't need you had to get your permit in Missouri if you went to Missouri. I know people right now are going, why did I get my permit in Missouri? But that's why it was different back then. So I went ahead, I flew into Salt Lake. The shuttle picked me up, took me to the Ramada, because at the time, they still don't. They didn't have anything like Campus Inn over at Springfield. You went to Ramada and you stayed there. First morning, I get up and, go meet the Prime shuttle out front. I think the first morning, the Ramada shuttle took us all over there, because I think there was like two sets of people. The Ramada shuttle took one and the Prime shuttle took the other. So now we pull up to Salt Lake Terminal, which is totally new to me. Oh, wow, cool. Wow, it's so much smaller than what I've seen about the Springfield terminal. So we check in. I'm going to try to quit saying so here. We check in, do paperwork, and it was Troy who met us there and gave us all the paperwork, talked to us about what was going to go on for the week. Orientation was a week. We went in there, I believe it was a Monday, and we were you're supposed to be out on a trainer's truck by that Friday. We went ahead and filled out the paperwork, and the first morning they immediately put your name, what's going on, a little thing on paperwork, and they took you right into the bathroom. There was people in there and they were collecting urine samples for drug screening, which was okay. I ain't worried about it. Yeah, I'll tell you, I was worried about it, because in California, there was a lot of people smoking weed, and you'd smell it in the air all the time. And I'm thinking, man, I hope I don't have any residual weed in my system or something from being around people, being inside people's houses that smoke weed, because it's legal out there. So I do the pee test, go back, and we answer a bunch of questions. Troy goes ahead and I think at that time showed some videos and whatnots, or he talked about what Prime was all about, what they're expecting from you, and you got to do your CBTs. You're going to have to do the driving game. What is it called? The simulator, and so on and so forth. So once everyone was done, they took us down, showed us the simulator. They don't have a sim lab like Springfield. It's just one simulator in an office, and we all sat there and kind of gawked at it and did our thing. Pretty much you had to take, they didn't give you like, hey, you know what, get in line, or here's a number, you're going to run the simulator in this order. You're doing simulator. This group's going to, I think the first day we all did simulator, or the second day we all did simulator, and then the third day they split the group up. Some went out and started learning pre-trip, and some worked on a simulator. It was kind of goofy though, because there was no order. You just had to, okay, I'm going to go after you type deal, and so on and so forth. Well, I sat in the sim lab, I keep calling it sim lab. I sat in the simulator room and really studied my pre-trip. I wasn't interested in the simulator because I've played many video games. I don't need to play another one. So I really worried about my pre-trip. I think I went on the simulator one time the whole time I was there. As I'm doing this, I start walking, we go back upstairs and we start working on CBTs. They have this program that this application. It's not an application. It's some program on the computer you fill out. It's kind of like, to me, I call it a psych test, and it's supposed to it's supposed to find you a trainer that's going to be similarly think like you or whatever. Well, one, they don't have enough trainers for that to work, and two, no, to me it's a psych test. I don't see how that's supposed to get you paired up with somebody. So anyways, after I was done with that, I was walking around upstairs and just checking things out, and lo and behold, I look out the window, and what do I see? I see a white Freightliner with blue flames and stars and the H and the Honduras and all that stuff on it over by the tractor shop. And it was kind of wandering around like, I don't know what it was doing, but I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I gotta go meet Junior. You know, I watched all of his videos before I came to Prime, and I ran down there and looked, and he was gone. His truck was there, he was gone, and I didn't want to go wandering around too much because I'm in orientation, guys, and you're not supposed to be running off. But I thought I would say, hey, you know, whatnot. Didn't get a chance, so I went back upstairs, finished out that day, and let's see. Now we're going on to Wednesday. It was more sim lab, not lab. It was more simulator work, CBTs, and going out to the pad and working on pre-trip. At this point, they were talking about how we're going to work, you know, get pad trained because they don't have any trainers. I forget what went on in Springfield, but something went on to where all the trainers were busy or whatever. And so it was kind of a bummer. It's like, oh man, I want to go out and be out in the field and get actually trained. So we all gathered around the pad trainer and listened to her speech, and she actually had put us in a couple groups, and she used students, not CDL holders, not drivers, students that were pretty good at the pre-trip from her other class, walk us around and do the pre-trip with us. So right there, you're already feeling gypped. You're like, well, wait a minute. You want a student to come train us, or to show us the pre-trip? So I felt a little goofy about that, but I already knew the pre-trip, so I was fine with it. I was like, yeah, whatever. I ended up pairing up with another guy, and we sat and practiced on our own. They eventually paired everybody off like that, and we did our thing. So we were watching, before we were done for the day, we were watching people practice the backing skills on the pad, and because come that Friday, if you didn't have a trainer, you were going to work on the pad. I was one of the lucky ones. There was like 3 people who got trainers. I was one of the lucky ones who got a trainer. And I was told, hey, you know, we got you a trainer. When you come in tomorrow, we'll call him. You'll introduce yourself. You'll talk to him, so on and so forth. So I was pretty excited. I was like, right on. Went back to Ramada, got a good meal, shower, went to sleep, woke up, got my breakfast and coffee, went back over there, and fairly early morning, my fleet manager, who's my fleet manager now, he worked in the building, in that building. You walked right by him to get to the classes, and he called me over and he said, hey, let me see if so-and-so is awake, which, okay, he was, and he had me call him, and I talked to him, you know, for a little bit. At that point, I instantly knew I'm not going to jive real well with this guy, but, you know, we'll give it a shot and see what's going on. Just because just the way his attitude was towards things, you know, rather than, hey, how you doing? Who are you? Why are you getting into this? Things like that. His first things were, now, I don't care what Prime says. If you F up my truck, you're paying the deductible. If you can't afford the deductible, I don't care if it takes you 15 years, you're going to pay me weekly until that deductible is paid. And just kind of that attitude, which was like, wait, what? Who? What? I thought getting a trainer would be the best way to go, so I was going to put up with it. So then he proceeds to tell me that, okay, I'm going to be picking you up tomorrow. I'm going to call you a half hour before I get there, and I want you to meet me on the street in front of the terminal because I don't go into terminals, he said. Okay, whatever, I'll do it. So I get all my stuff ready that night. I finish out the day, get all my stuff ready that night, go back to the Ramada, or go to the terminal in the morning, and I'm sitting there with all my stuff, waiting for that phone call, waiting because he said he'd be there by X amount of time. Well, that time comes and goes, no phone call. Well, let me back up for a second. First, that night, he called me while I was at the Ramada, and he's all, wait a minute, I can't pick you up. So I was like, oh my God. I was just so depressed. I thought I had a trainer. And that happened to a guy in class the day before. They thought they had one, and then something happened and he didn't. So, you know, you knew it could happen. I said, oh, really? Okay, why is that? He goes, well, because I'm not going to be anywhere near Pittston. I'm like, Pittston? I'm in Salt Lake. Oh, you are? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I'll be there. I don't know why I was thinking Pittston. So, okay. So he said, I'll call you, meet me, half hour, blah, 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 you know, da-da-da-da. So I'm waiting, nothing. So I call him, and I call him, nothing. So I'm just sitting there. All of a sudden, someone walks in, looks at me and goes, hey, are you so-and-so? All right, let's go. We got to go. Someone's mad on the CB. And that was about it. You know, hey, we got to go. So I was like, all right, cool. I, you know, was wearing my vest because that's what you did at the terminal. They had everybody in the vest. And as I'm walking out, he, you know, my truck's over here. He's parked out on the street, whatnot. So I'm getting in the truck, and I remember the passenger door. These trucks are high. I've never been in one before, never even looked in one. And my duffel bag is huge, and I'm trying to get up on the seat, you know, with the other thing. I can't remember. Oh, my CPAP was over my shoulder, and I'm struggling with it. And I finally just barely, and I'm getting it. And he's standing there staring at me, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, is he looking at me and going, this guy's an idiot? I'm not going to. He finally reached down, grabbed it, and helped me in with it. The thing was heavy. And then I got in the truck, and I kind of asked him, because he really didn't say much other than, we got to go, and you're not going to drive. He told me two things. You're not driving because I'm too pressed on this load. We got to get it to Oakland, California. And you're not going to drive until you know your pre-trip 100%. Okay. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. We almost hit our light pole within 15 minutes of our departure from Prime. That's going to be where I start my PSD training. This was my orientation. It wasn't too sketchy in orientation. Orientation was pretty good. They gave you lunch, by the way. You know, you didn't pay for nothing. They gave you the hotel. They paid your lunch. You got a dinner voucher, and then the Ramada had free breakfast. You know, no, not even continental, free breakfast. You know, sausage, eggs, coffee, juice, stuff like that. So that was pretty good. They had shuttles that took you places like Walmart and whatnot if you needed to go, kind of like at Springfield, but on a smaller scale here. So everything was cool. I did my roommate. I will touch on this. I'm obviously ain't going to say his name or anything, but one of the goofiest things that happened in orientation was my roommate was freaking out. Friday morning, or Thursday morning, the drug test came back, and they had a question. They wanted to know why he had penicillin in his blood that he didn't have marked down on that he's taking. So that later that day when we were back at the hotel room, he's freaking out. And I'm like, what's up, dude? It's penicillin. And he goes, yeah, man, he kind of had a heart attack before he decided to go trucking. He had something go wrong with his heart. And so he went to the hospital. They ended up putting him on this penicillin. And he's supposed to be going back and getting further tests and whatnot, but he ended up going to orientation. So I'm like, dude, you're going to drop dead and kill somebody. So he didn't know what to do, whether he should talk to Prime and tell him what's up or just leave. And I told him, what worst they can do is tell you to go home, tell them what's going on, see what they say. So he goes, yeah. So the morning when I get up, he's gone. All his stuff's gone. He just bolted. He said, forget it. He was so on the fence and he was wanting to leave that he just bolted. So that was about the goofiest thing that happened to me in orientation that I can think of or remember at this point. So yeah, stay tuned for the next video. you guys are just gonna wonder how I made it through training, because it is, from here on out, it's going to be an absolute 97.3% nightmare of a training. I don't know how I made it. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Sorry about that last video, not getting to the orientation. You know me.